CWPA Remote.
Hi, I'm Ed Hawes, Director of Communications for the Collegiate Water Polo Association, and this is CWPA Remote. Joining us today is Jack Horton, longtime official and member of the CWPA Evaluators group. Thanks for joining us today, Jack. I'm going to start off with the easy questions. You're a Florida native, Florida State alum, through and through. Yeah, and you're a longtime standout official on the pool deck. What do you credit your expertise as an official? Maybe talk a little bit about how you got into it.
Wow. I grew up a competitive swimmer, twice a day, swimming 3 days a week weights. Got to Florida State, swam for about 2-3 weeks, and called my mom and told her I was tired of playing wall tag. So then in the deep end, 25-yard, 6-lane pool, they had a 10-meter tower, but that's a whole nother story. They were playing water polo. I'd played competitive soccer with a European coach in middle school. So that helped to pick up like cross-cage passes and stuff and how to zone or man-to-man defense. So I started playing water polo. And then after collegiate club, water polo, got into officiating. And then worked my way up pretty fast with officiating. Several times I was right place, right time with the proper outcome and with the right people watching, and that helped to move things up. So that's how I got started. Expertise. I feel, to me, it's terrifying to be on the pool deck in your referee outfit and not know the application of the rule, what the rule is, and that was just terrifying. So I knew the rule book. I can quote various stuff from the rule books, and everything's going to go better if that's a good place to start. So know the rule book, you read it, you reread it, you get things straight. You understand that the rule book may say a player not entitled to play, and you realize that most people eventually will start saying an eighth player. You're talking about an eighth player. And then when crazy stuff happens, and crazy stuff will happen, it's very beneficial that if you're in charge of the rules that you can accurately state them and know what they are, and that builds confidence with everybody that's involved in that situation. You also got to know the game. You got to study the game. The game is constantly changing, and you've got to be up on that. And that means sitting and watching games and talking about it. And the first ever Junior Olympics I refereed at, it was in Orlando. I was an alternate official, and then somebody didn't show up, and I got this call that you're supposed to go. And Don Holbrook, John Matrella, Bob Korb, and others were there. And we would sit in the game, in the stands, and watch and talk about what just happened. And what do you think? Well, what if the ball was there 2 feet away as opposed to there? And it was incredibly beneficial. And it was also very fortunate those people would share information. Another aspect is that figure out who makes sense to you. I can remember going to a couple clinics where the clinician would do their thing, and then afterwards, me and others would go, what just happened? And I didn't get anything out of that. And what was the message? So you figure out who you can talk to and who makes sense to you, and it may be different from somebody else. And then you build a rapport with those people. So you can call them up, and you can call them up and say, where's the fingernail? I can't find it, and where things are. And I was very fortunate that a lot of referees took an interest in me. A lot of the big time names, if I could read a quick list: Brett Bernard, Andy Dakota, Tom Hermstead, Bob Lee, Don Holbrook, Bob Corb, Gary Robinette, Lauren Bertocci, Dave Albertstein. There's many others that some of them I looked up to them and they kind of brought me along. Some of them were like peers, but yet you sit and talk about situations, and that helps you to learn it really, really good. Also, I guess to know what the weak parts are of your game and to probably write them down and go back and look at those. Or if you have a weak mechanics, if your mechanics for something is like your ball under and you bounce the ball for ball under, which really doesn't look good. You want a nice smooth one time down. You look so in control doing that. And then you practice that, but you have to know that that's a deficiency you have. And also ask for feedback. To me, it's got to be a discussion, but if a coach or player came up to me after the game, I would say, well, if you want to talk, I'll gladly talk with you, but it's got to be a two-way conversation. And most people will go, okay. And if they were upset, because sometimes that happens, I would suggest, well, I hear you and I want to talk with you, but I don't think right now is a good, so come talk to me later. And quite often they will. And then you sit and talk, and you don't have to agree, but quite often things can get worked out. Things can be made better that way. But it's just, yeah, I'll stick with that stuff.
Well, part of it is each official has their own routine to get ready for a game and their own superstitions, be them whistle color, where they put their cards. What was your routine to get ready for a game?
Sometimes I listen to music to be up tempo, like Dire Straits, like their song Solid Rock is good. Also some crazy up tempo, like Drowning Pool, Let the Bodies Hit the Floor.
Okay, maybe that's it's kind of going to the other extreme at that point, but all right.
But it would get you, I mean, you're going in a battle with a partner, and it's a big deal to everybody there who wins except for you and your partner. Mm-hmm. And so you've got to be ready, and there's no do-overs. Also, I would watch the warm-ups. I would study intently, but also would watch the warm-up so they know I was there watching. So there's nobody thinking, where's the refs? Who are the refs? Where are the refs? I would stand there and watch them warm up and not be laughing or joking on the deck before a game at all. That they're getting focused, they're getting ready, and here am I doing the same thing with you guys. And also visualize good play. Visualize that 2-on-1, and the guy's got the ball, locking down the goalie, making that good pass to the other player, boom, and being ready for that defender that's behind that good player that's got inside position. And not that you want to blow that foul, but you are anticipating good play and visualize what you want to see.
All right. Well, tell me about your most rewarding game. Maybe not your best game that you called, but the one that sticks out for you the most, the game or tournament in which you thought to yourself, this is why I became an official. There's
several come to mind. One was the first ever penalty shootout in Junior Olympics in Fort Lauderdale. And it was all these tiebreaker criteria now were met, and it got down to a penalty shootout. It had never been done before. And then I got selected to conduct it. And it was 2 California teams, and the head referees were Californian, and the stands were packed. It was at night. It was after the games, and the Swimming Hall of Fame was packed. And there I am. And I'm like, can't hesitate, can't fake. And I mean, all the head games that were going on, it turns out one of the teams had a shooter warm up and had him intentionally hit the post on all his warm up shots. And I think another team had the backup goalie warming up and the starter sitting on the bench like he wasn't going to. And that was a really intense situation. It went well for me. And I just just a big crowd, and it's like, wow, and no one's ever done this before. There's never been one. Also, a women's game, Puerto Rico versus Cuba. A Cuban girl came up, had bite marks on her arm, broken skin. You could see the teeth. I asked what number. The Puerto Rican coach was there, and they said number 11, and the Puerto Rican coach was like, you can't do this. It's already happened. And I'm like, bring me number 11. The reason being is I noticed that the lower teeth marks on the girl's arm, there was a tooth that was sideways, completely, boom, sideways. And 11 came up, and I said, open your mouth. And I pointed to the tooth. I pointed to the arm. The Puerto Rican coach lowered his head. Girl lowered her head. I went like that, which is what we used to use for brutality before we called it flagrant misconduct. And that was that. And that's something it's not in the rule book. The circumstances just played out like that. It was a normal stoppage. And I mean, there was blood and something had happened. Did I see it? No, but I guess sometimes sometimes the right thing to do is not written in the rule book. And it's impossible to write a rule book that has every situation going on. And so anyway, and another one was Spain and Hungary junior teams, and Hungary. And it was the end of a period, and the Spanish team took a shot. Spanish team took a shot. The end of the period noise happened while the shot's in the air. Hungarian player went up, pulled it down with 2 hands outside the penalty area. There's nothing to do. There's no penalty. My partner, I mean, it was like at half tank too. I mean, it wasn't even close. My partner called a penalty shot. And I'm like, okay, I can't move. I can't flinch. I can't look at him and do this. I can't, I gotta stay cool. I looked at the delegate, and the delegate's just looking at me, and I'm like, okay, it'd be really nice if you like stood up right now and went and did something, but he didn't. And the period ends, and then the Spanish coach wouldn't leave his bench because they were supposed to swap ends. So I went down and talked with him and eventually convinced him that I assured him that we were not going to take a penalty shot. And I also assured him that I know and you know that my partner is in big trouble right now, and something's going to happen to him. So, and eventually he agreed, but I just remember sitting there, you're in a foreign country, and then it's like, okay, does the Spanish coach speak English? I hope he does, because I got to talk him out of this, and the delegate was not going to do anything. And that worked out. And boy, I can still remember that one. That was crazy. But anyway, so, and again, another thing that's not in the rule book, and you have to figure out what's right, and then hopefully implement that.
Well, you mentioned the rules, and obviously the rules over the years have changed. But how has officiating changed from when you started out till now? What's been the change over, let's say, the last 20 years or so?
It's harder. It used to be, what's happening now is the perimeter is a bunch of center defenders, center forwards. And I think the perimeter referee really has a hard time. Because the teams have figured out that they can do stuff away from the ball, especially if the ball's at the 2 position, they can do something at the 4 and probably get away with it. So I think it's a harder game to officiate. I think on the good side, there's film and there's Dartfish software that makes education and learning really ramp up, because you can see it, you can see it again, you can see it again, and we don't have any of the stuff of, Ed, you remember in the third period, 7 blue and 3 white, they were down there, and that whole system with film and with Dartfish, the capabilities to right away go right to that, look at it again, and talk about it, that's really a different thing. The women are playing. The women are really good. The women's an exciting game. Their uniforms are huge compared to the men. So it's different. There's a lot of grabbing and holding. And so then you have to look for things and look at things differently than you look at the men's game. You have to look for, bodies all of a sudden shifting really weird. And you just have to, they've got these handles right back here typically.
Mhm.
And so that's different. That's really good. I coached for 10 years and I had women's teams all 10 years. And for me, it was very different coaching. The first year I had them all together. And then after that, I had separate practices because I felt that for me to be effective, I had to have different practices because you have to treat them differently. They respond differently to stimulus, I guess. I don't know how to say it. There's a lot of smart players. There's a lot of smart coaches, and they are just getting smarter and smarter and smarter. So that makes the game more interesting. There's a lot of clever people doing clever stuff, and you got to keep up with it as an official. The referees are, I think, becoming more uniform and what they whistle. You don't see, I think you see less of stylistic differences between officials than you did like 20 years ago. And I think part of that is film, that you can watch films, and we can get on YouTube right now and pull up hundreds and hundreds of games, and you can see some top rated games and see how that's, whether it's a Len game or it's a FINA game, and see what's going on there. So it's changed and it's going to keep changing, and everybody has to adapt or you get left behind.
Right. Well, as I mentioned in the opening to this, you serve as a referee evaluator for the league and also for the NCAA. What makes a good official, and how does a good official become better in calling the game?
Yeah, they've got to know the rules. They've got to know the rules. They got to know the application of the rules. They have to be able to speak in in language that's clear. They can't just say the lane line. They have to know that we have an end line and a sideline, and is the end line recessed or not, because that matters. And there's all that little stuff. They've got to look good, and by looking good, I mean their mechanics. Their mechanics need to be sharp, and the body language needs to be good. The shoulders need to be back, and you need to, even if you don't know what you're doing, you really try hard to look like you are. Whistle work needs to be good, and then it's persistence. If you want to get better, you can get better. Like I mentioned before, you want to find the right people that you can call up and talk to, or sit down and talk to, and what did you think of that? And actually have a real conversation, not just some fluff stuff that I really don't want to share. You got to find people that want to share and will share stuff with you. And then there's mechanics, and there's positioning on the pool deck, and being positioned and anticipating and not being caught out of place. Not getting too deep on a counterattack when you're backcourt, and then all of a sudden there's a turnover and they're way the heck down the other end. And that's you. And you can't see it as well as if you were back there. So if you go in deep, then hurry up and get the heck back out. Then, what could happen next that's going to affect you, and it would be a turnover of some sort. But if you want to get better, nothing's going to stop you, but you've got to be persistent in that. You got to find the right people to help. There's a lot of people that will gladly help you.
You got to find the right people and put in the time to get better.
Yeah, to think that you're just going to hop out of the water and grab the whistle, and it's, to me, there's a lot of different groups involved with water polos. You have spectators, you have parents. I think those are two different groups. You have goalies, which I think view the game very differently than field players. You have coaches that view the game differently, and you have referees that view the game differently. And it's you've seen it in other sports a lot, where they take the great athlete and then they put him as a coach, and it just doesn't work out.
Mhm.
So don't think you have to be this great water polo star to be a good referee. It's like a lot of the good NBA coaches were kind of so. You know, Pat Riley he played in the NBA, but he's not in the Hall of Fame for playing. Yeah. Yeah, and at first it's rough. I can look back on some of my first games and boy, oh boy, that's crazy.
Well, I mean, the officiating corps is constantly in need of new faces and new blood. What advice would you offer to someone who's looking to get into officiating?
Pretty much a lot of stuff I previously said. Find mentors, find peers you can have a conversation with, a real conversation. You can be frank with one another. Someone that you could actually go up to and say, God, I screwed that up. And sometimes when things go bad in the game and you mess something up, I think the best thing is to put it in a box, put it to the side and leave it. You can't fix things because now you are in essence cheating. And now the question is, when aren't you cheating? And I don't think you ever want to be in that position, but you need somebody you could talk to and say, man, I messed that. And they didn't react, but boy, I messed up. I'd like to have that one over again. And that's going to help you to get better when you replay those things. It's going to help you when you see something similar again. And then just be persistent. And, you know, if you want to get better, you can get better. No one can stop you. And it takes time. And then you may have a log jam in front of you. You may have a bunch of Michael Goldenbergs and top people in front of you, and there you are. So the main thing is to enjoy it, have fun, enjoy the people that you work with and you're around, and enjoy the game. Yeah. If you're watching this and you ever have thought about being an official, just go for it, do it. You know, find a practice, go do some scrimmages. You know, if that coach is a jerk to you, then go to somebody else's practice.
Mm-hmm.
And do it. And if you want to do it, you can do it. You can get better. You can totally recreate yourself. It's a good thing.
Okay. Most people wouldn't know that outside of officiating and your work with evaluations, you're also a high school math teacher, dealing with honor students and high achievers. A lot of officials work in fields that have math connections, be the engineers, teachers, scientists. Does coming from a field that specializes in logical thinking, you know, math or science, etc., aid an official on the pool deck?
Yeah, I think it does. I think I don't think it's pure chance that so many math teachers are involved in so many referees have a background in engineering of some sort, or math of some sort, or they work at a job where things are precise and there's definitely lines, and I'll say right and wrong, but yeah, there is, I think, some art involved, and it's hard to describe art, and you know, flow of the game is I think an art type of thing, and it's difficult to get that verbally, but I think there is some of that. But I think most of it is precision. You know, is the hand on the ball? Is the hand not on the ball? Was that a strike? Was that not a strike? And you know, and just very very precise keepers of precision, shall we say?
All right. Typically, during one of these things, I ask someone, tell me one thing that people don't know about them, but I'm going to take this one because I know a little bit more having working in the league. You're a big fan of nature photography. How did you enter into the field of nature photography, and what is most interesting and attractive about it? And the second part of that question is, what's the beauty of it, the hunt for the perfect picture or the drive to find beauty in just the everyday occurrence of a bird or animal?
Wow. It's fun. It's precise. It's hard. Sounds a lot like water polo.
Mm-hmm.
It gets me out of the house like water polo. I'm not going to different cities and visiting pools all day long. But it gets me out of the house, gets me to the coast, gets me to, I know a place by St. Augustine where I can walk a couple hundred yards and there's a lease term rookery, and they're just all there, and you can get 30 feet away, and adults are bringing in fish that are still wiggling, and they feed the babies, and the ghost crabs pop up, and the adults go after the ghost crabs, and there's all sorts of cool places here in Central Florida where I can do that. But it's a precise thing. It's difficult. You have to get up early. Quite often I'll get up at 4 or so, start getting ready to places, because it's good to be in location before the sun comes up, because most things in the world wake up hungry, so they start looking for food. And you have to have a lot of patience. You have to anticipate. That's like refereeing, I guess. Yeah, it's a lot like refereeing. You got to be patient. You have to anticipate, but you can't be, wanting to push the shutter. You have to wait for the right moment, and then you've got to be ready. I'm not a big believer in a thing called luck. I believe that you're prepared, you're ready, and then you can take advantage of the moment. But yeah, I like it. I've been published a couple different places. I don't really do it for that. It's just it's fun. I enjoy it, and especially in this time that we're in, it gets me out. Tomorrow morning, I'll probably get up at 5, and I'll be on location at 6, and then I've got a Zoom meeting with I'm now a virtual teacher. With my virtual teacher principal at 9 o'clock. We have a faculty meeting, so I'll be back for that. Saturday morning, I'll be up again, 5:30, heading to someplace. Get back home at 10. Yeah, it's fun, and I tell people I don't have a boat, so I do photos.
If anyone wants to give Jack a boat, he's looking for a boat. If anyone has a good deal out there, make an offer.
Yeah, it's like pontoon boat, deck boat, river boat. I don't know. I just want to say it's really good seeing you again, Ed. And I miss everybody at the CWP office. I miss everybody in the water polo world. I miss the coaches. Yes, all of you. I really do. The players, the good plays, the bad plays. I think, like all of us, there's really like this hole, this emptiness, and hopefully, in not too distant future, things get under control. Florida State, I just heard on a podcast a day or two ago, one of our top players tested positive, had it up on social media, and within moments took it down, but reporters know. It goes up on social media, screenshot, and it's just a crazy time. So again, miss you guys. Hopefully we can get back to doing what we love soon, eventually. And thanks for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. All right. Thanks.
Yep. Stay safe, everybody. Take care.